Today, I want to show you how to make Japanese curry roux, a key ingredient to any good Japanese curries. And we'll do everything from scratch, giving you a bit of tips and tricks along the way. Let's do it. Now, first up, the spices. When Japanese curry was introduced by the Brits in the late 19th century, it was introduced as a curry powder. So everything is in powdered form. They each serve a different purpose. Once you've made it once, you can pick and choose which you would like to add. We have the turmeric, which adds this warm and earthy flavor. And of course, the signature color you associate with Japanese curry. The cumin, which adds this nutty, slightly peppery flavors. The coriander, seeds, not roots, which when dried, it's more similar to dry lemon than fresh coriander for some reason. Some cloves, which gives you this warm and spicy balance. Floral notes from some cardamom, sweetness from the fenugreek, sweet and woody flavors from the cinnamon, garlic powder, ginger powder, and last but not least, black peppercorn. The only non-powder ingredient, the bay leaves, which again adds a bit of mild earthiness. With our candidates introduced, let's make a roux. With any roux, the primary focus is for it to act as a thickening agent. And in Japan, they like their curries really thick. And to achieve that, you always have the fat and the flour. Traditionally, you're most likely going to use butter, but if you want a lighter taste like me, use a neutral high smoke point oil. In this case, vegetable oil. So, stove on, whisk ready, oil goes in. And you want a 50-50 oil to flour ratio. Once the oil is slightly hot, the all-purpose flour, they go in and the workout begins. This is the first stage of roux making, the coating of the flour by the fat, and in turn the fat will coat each starch granule of the flour, preventing them from clumping together when we eventually introduce the liquid. And Japanese curry roux, they're brown not from the color of the spices, they're actually a brown roux, not gumbo brown, but darker than a blonde roux. So you want to give it a bit of time. If this is your first time doing it, do it slow, mother it, lower the heat if needed, and keep whisking to prevent the bottom from burning. As this roux darkens, we are getting to stage 2 of brown roux making, the Maillard reaction, the protein and sugar content of the flour through heat and fat reacting with each other, giving you complex and deep flavors, something similar to bread making. Once we've reached a dark blonde color, that's when I like to introduce the powdered spices, because most of their flavor compounds are fat soluble, giving them a bit of time to toast, to release the essential oil, release their flavors into the roux. But we're not adding them from the beginning just to have more control, to prevent them from burning before the roux could get brown. So once we are dark blondish, spices, they go in. And you keep stirring. Immediately, the whole room smells like a Japanese curry house. And we lower the heat slightly just to make sure the spices don't burn. Once the roux start to smell like the crust of freshly baked bread, you know this is ready. Normally, most recipes would call for you to freeze this or add this to the cooking liquid of your curry. But one thing I want to show you how to minimize the probability of clumping by adding some cold water bit by bit. When you add water or any liquid to a roux, the starch granules of the flour starts to swell, thickening the liquid in the process. And by using cold water, you cool down the roux slightly, slowing down the swelling, thus the thickening, giving you a wonderful, smooth consistency without your arms having to go through another workout. And once this is perfectly smooth, stove off, and I want to introduce a few other additional ingredients to take this to the next level. First up, we have some soy sauce. This would add some salinity and more importantly, a ton of umami to the roux. And next up, precisely because of its British influence, Worcestershire sauce, giving you a bit of tangy goodness as well as a ton of umami. And these two really add to the complexity of your curry. Our bay leaves to infuse with the residual heat, and lastly, some honey or sugar to balance the spiciness and the strong flavors of this roux. Work everything in. Perfect. Now, this could go straight into your cooking liquid without the risk of clumping, or once it had sufficient time to cool down, you could put this in the freezer and you'll have amazing Japanese curry roux whenever you're making a curry. This is Japanese curry roux. I really hope you enjoy.